Welcome to the last chapter of this semester. Chapter 9, Climate and Life, Biomes. You have done a great job thus far. It is a lot of information that you have had to digest in a really short period of time, but you have gotten almost to the end. We have 1.5 more weeks. In this chapter, we're going to talk about what climate actually looks like on our planet and what that means for what the planet's surface looks like. I'm going to go through a lot of biomes, which is basically what makes something a tropical rainforest or what makes it a desert. There are a lot of different names that I'm going to throw out at you. I'm going to describe them to you in the way that I think would work best for me if I was trying to study for the exam. Do not try to memorize all of the different climate graphs I'm going to show you because there's going to be a bunch. There's just way too much. It would be too much, too intense, too intimidating, and overwhelming. Don't try to memorize them. Instead, approach it like if you were going to visit a place that I tell you it has this temperature and it has this precipitation. Think about what you would expect a place like that to look like, and I'm guessing based on what you've learned so far in the rest of the course, you will lead yourself to the right answer of what that place is that you're going to visit. So humans have been messing with the surface of the planet for as long as there have been humans. Humans' ability to mess with the planet is something called terraforming. Terra meaning earth, forming, well, you can figure that one out. We will transform the earth to do whatever we want. We can use human technology, and some of it is so massive that we consider it a form of planetary engineering. But that messing with the planet comes with a price. Our human population is growing, and we need more of Earth's resources. This places a greater demand on our planet, and we need to pay attention to that because we are maybe pushing it a little too far. Here what we're looking at is our map, obviously, and an aerial image of Great Plains farmland. These fields are in southwestern Kansas. These are agricultural fields that are watered by center pivot irrigation, and these are visible as these different circular green shapes on the landscape. Each one of these circular plots is about a mile in diameter. Do you think that the planet would ever look like this if it wasn't for humans messing with it? No. It's amazing actually just how much. So if you are traveling on a plane and you look down, it's amazing looking at the shape of the planet itself and then the things that people have done to it, how much it looks like artwork, like an artist's canvas. In this case, I guess you would say that you could consider the farmers that did this artists. So now to talk about climate and biomes and what that actually means. A biome is an extensive region with relatively uniform vegetation. I'm not going to ask you about vegetation on the exam. Your textbook talks about it a lot. What I am going to ask you about is the climate that leads to a biome. This slide has some terms that describe different types of vegetation structure. Once again, I'm not going to ask you about them, but understanding them is helpful. What you do need to know is that biomes are determined by climate, and this shouldn't really come as a big surprise to you. You're not going to expect to find a cactus in some place where it rains all the time, or find a massive canopy rainforest tree in like the middle of Arizona where it's very arid and dry. Here we've got a table describing the different vegetation structures. Once again, that just it's helpful to know, like what a forest means versus what a desert means. Basically, these things range from having a lot of trees to having no trees and everything in between. Here's a few more botanical terms. If there's ever a term where you see it and you wonder what on earth this means, this table might come in handy. We don't have too many surprises here. Your broadleaf trees are trees that have those big, wide, flat leaves. Very often they're deciduous, which means they lose their leaves at a certain point during the year. We have coniferous trees. These are like, think of your Christmas trees, your pines and cedars and firs, things of that nature. Pretty much needle leaf trees. We have, once again, deciduous means it loses its leaves. Evergreen means it doesn't lose its leaves. And then you can go through a couple of the other ones. And of course, we want to know about the spatial distribution of biomes. This is a geography class. Where do the tropical rainforests occur, or where are deserts located? Biomes correspond to different climate zones. We have something that we use called the Köppen climate designation. This was created by this German scientist named Köppen, and he created an actual map delineating the different climate zones. Extreme events can also play a big role in the kind of vegetation that you get. If you have droughts frequently, or fires, or hurricanes, they can impact the kind of spatial distribution of plants. They don't overlap precisely with, say, your climate map, but they're pretty darn close. Here we have both a climate zone map and a biome map so that you can compare them. You can compare that spatial distribution of the climate zones and the biomes. And if you give them a look, you will see that they roughly correspond in space. Notice that the different biomes will have 2 or 3 letter little designations associated with them. Do not worry about any of that. I just want you to have the basic idea of, say, what does a rainforest climate look like, or what does a desert look like? So we have all kinds of different climates and biomes. We have tropical climates, dry climates, mild mid-latitude and severe mid-latitude, polar climates, and highland climates. We know pretty much all of this stuff. We've learned it throughout the course, even if we didn't have an exact name. All of those climates correspond to different biomes, and we're going to have basically 4 types of biomes that we are going to focus on. We have low latitude biomes, mid-latitude biomes, high-latitude biomes, and then biomes that exist at all latitudes, all in one spot. This rather frightening looking graphic is something you are going to see twice, I believe, on your exam. Do not let it frighten you. This is the way this graphic works. So we've got this odd looking thing going in the middle. It has different biomes listed on it. At our x-axis on the bottom, we are looking at our average annual temperature, and this is being a range. So if you work from like left to right, you would say go from 30 degrees temperature to 20 degrees temperature. So just a range. Same thing's going on your y-axis, only this time we're looking at precipitation. The way this works is you go find your biome, and you can look down at the temperature and over at the precipitation to get different ranges for that biome. Now, don't think that you have to memorize this stuff. Please don't. It will make you crazy. It's too much for anybody to memorize. The way this is going to work is I'm going to give you an annual temperature range, like say from 80 degrees to 70 degrees. Or an average precipitation range, say from 200 to 300 centimeters. And then what I would like you to do is tell me what biome corresponds to this range. If you're hot with no rain, you get a hot desert. If you're cold, like really cold with no rain, you get a tundra. Keep in mind that if there are words on this particular graph that you don't know, I'm going to try and define those for you. Here are a few words that you might not be familiar with, so we're just going to touch on them really fast, and I will try and remind you as we go through them what they mean. So, temperate is talking about regions where the temperature range is just cool to warm. It doesn't get super cold, it doesn't get super hot, it's cool to warm. Montane has to do with mountains. When you see the word montane, we are talking about something to do with mountains. Tundra, when you see tundra, you know we are talking about someplace cold. Boreal is a special word that means north. So if you think about like the aurora borealis, it's got that word boreal in it. We're talking about the northern lights. If we were talking about the southern hemisphere, we would say they were aurora australis, but you didn't know that. So boreal means north. Tropical, if you are looking at some kind of tropical climate, or tropical biome, you know you're talking about someplace hot. And then a savanna, and this is dry grasslands. So these are just a couple key little words here that you might find helpful as we go through this. So because we were only doing a half lecture on this particular day, this is just a really short introduction to climate and biomes. We will pick it up next time with the different actual biomes. We're talking about low latitude biomes, mid latitude biomes, high latitude biomes, and those we occur anywhere biomes. See you next time.